Thank you everyone for joining us on World Social Media Day. It's June the 30th. This day happens every day, every year. Obviously it's World Social Media Day. Why wouldn't it happen every year? So the whole point of this session is basically for a question and answer session on anything to do with social media at all. And that covers everything from Twitter to LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat. We're happy to talk about every element of it. Whatever your questions are, we will do our finest to answer them. I'll just introduce the team so I can see where they are on my screen, but they might not be the same place as you. We've got Christopher Fox, who is our copywriting and SEO specialist. We have Courtney West, who is our social media executive, and Hannah, who is also a social media executive. My name is Richard Mickey. I'm the CEO and founder of The Marketing Optimist. So yeah, today is really about you guys. How we'll run the session is you guys can ask any question you like. We will try our best to answer them. If we can't answer it, we'll take a note and we'll come back to you with an answer at a later point. This session is not about me talking at you. This is your chance to kind of chip in, have a discussion. Feel free to interject at any point, ask whatever you like, and we will do our best to support you as best we can. So I guess I'm going to hand it over to Leanne, Maria and Rizman. Do you guys have any particular questions that you would like answering?
Well, I think, I mean, I just joined it really to learn a bit more about social media, really. I haven't got any specific questions apart from potentially, I don't understand how, I mean, we're obviously a very small business, but we struggle because everything is personal. So, you know, our Facebook is linked to our personal Facebook, our LinkedIn account is linked to our personal profile. And how do companies actually manage that? So surely, you know, a social media company doesn't have, you know, 5 or 6, you know, Coca-Cola or Nike or whatever attached to one single person. How does it work like that?
Okay, that's a very good question. I think when social media really kind of took off, everything was personal. So on your Facebook profiles, to run a business page, I remember the time when business pages didn't exist and they were just, you could do what you liked. But when business pages came along, at one point you had to invite people who were your friend to be a manager on your business page. And some people still do that. And there are still some pages we get hold of which are kind of run like that. What we do for Facebook in particular is we use the Facebook Business Manager tool. And the Facebook Business Manager means that you can run your Facebook page as the Marketing Optimist in our case. And then you can allocate people via their email addresses to have different kinds of access level to that.
Sorry, can I just stop?
Yes, of course.
I don't know how to make your face big because I've literally just got my face big.
Oh, right. Okay. Apologies. Let me just...
and I can't see really what you're...
Hang on. I wave my arms around a lot. Just a second. There we go.
Oh, that's better.
That's better. So can you see me?
Oh, that's it. Yeah. Yeah, that's
right,
better.
Okay. No problem at all. So, yeah, basically what I was saying was... years ago, people would have had personal connections. So if I'm running my business page, the Marketing Optimist Facebook page, and I want you to be an admin on it, you have to be a friend, and I have to invite you that way. And that was the only way you could manage these. As Facebook developed, they've got a tool called Facebook Business Manager, where you basically attach your page to that in Facebook Business Manager, and then you can invite different people to be administrators on that page without them having that personal view of it. So it means that so Chris, Courtney and Hannah can all have access, or because Chris doesn't do his main focus isn't social media, Chris doesn't have access to that, but I can do that by inviting him via email. If we get a new team member or we want a new supplier to have access, we can do that too. It also means by doing that, if we want access to a client's page, so let's say that you want us to run your Facebook page, your Facebook business page, rather than you having to add me as a person, I could request access as the Marketing Optimist agency. And so that would come into our access via our business manager. And that's how we manage to manage lots and lots of different Facebook pages. And that's how businesses do that with Facebook. It's the same with Instagram as well. You can do the same with Instagram because Instagram and Facebook are both connected. So if we run your Facebook page, we can also run your Instagram page from the same setup.
And so if we then wanted to kind of just add like an extra kind of, I don't know, post or something that week, then we would go into Business Manager as well. Is that correct? Or we'd manage it through our pages?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. You manage that. You manage that way. So that you manage it via your business manager, and within business manager there are different scheduling tools and different tools you can use within that. You can also use advertising from business manager as well if you're doing that as well. So you would run your whole page from business manager. It's quite easy to set up. It just needs a little bit of thinking. You can probably have it done in say an hour and a half, something like that, depending on how complex your setup is. And that makes that a lot easier.
And would that take away like the notifications? Because basically, you know, I switched notifications off, so I don't get personal notifications anymore because I just kept getting loads of business ones. I don't want to be looking. I don't want to know about them on a weekend. You know, but then obviously there are some things that we probably want to know about if somebody wrote something awful. How does that kind of?
Yeah, so in the back end of Facebook Business Manager, you can manage the notifications. You can manage who gets what and when. So if you really do need them all, then you are still going to get them all, but you'll be able to manage it via your business manager,
Right.
which just streamlines everything. So if you've got, I mean, how many people have you got who need to have access to your Facebook page?
I'd probably say 3 at the moment.
Right. Okay. So so you can attach all 3 of those using your work email addresses. So it has nothing to do with their personal account at all.
Right.
And let's say that somebody left, you can remove that person, and somebody new starts, you can add that person. Or you get a larger team, you can add different people. Or you want somebody, like let's say you want us to do some work for you, you can add us and we can have access in that similar kind of way without having to make friends with me on Facebook like you used to have to do and then add me, and it's really complicated that way. So yeah, lots of things have been streamlined. What was the question around LinkedIn?
So again, we you know, if you want to place advertising on LinkedIn, now LinkedIn I find really difficult, so I don't want to overtake this Q&A either. But LinkedIn, we always struggle. Again, it's just one of those things. I think, you know, I've done it for 10 years, and it's just we're very kind of cottage industry in a way in our school. So you think, oh yeah, we can do it for free and but it just feels very unprofessional the way we kind of manage it in a way. Like I say, everything's personal. So we have like a LinkedIn account, and then business, I think we do have business manager, but it never makes sense in terms of sometimes we seem to be able to sponsor posts or boost posts, and then we get like analytics on the bottom. But then if you want to place adverts, you know, I think I've been told like, oh, you have to have so many followers, you know, to place display ads, or it has to go run a post. We don't want to pay, you know, we don't want to go into people's inboxes. And again, it's just whose credit card goes where. I mean, we had an agency and they were doing it, I think, on our behalf, and then it was found then their credit card was getting charged, whereas it was supposed to be our credit card. It was all a bit complicated. It just seems to have like developed and you know, and I feel like we need to almost start again.
Okay, so from a similar point of view, on a LinkedIn page, we have a bit of LinkedIn page, and Chris, Hannah and Courtney all are on as admins on there, so they can all post to that page as us. So when they post, they can select and post as the Marketing Optimist and not as themselves. And I can again turn that on and turn it off, so it's not personal. So they go in and they post, and you can actually do it on LinkedIn. In fact, I'll have a quick, let me quickly share my screen and I will show you. That's luckily I've got LinkedIn open. So I'm happy to share my screen. And there it is. So if I want to post to LinkedIn as the Marketing Optimist, I can either start a post here, and I'm not going to actually, let me just put in. So this is post that part. Might as well make it relevant. Okay, so there's my post, and that could be anything really. That's just a, yeah, that's fine. So to post that now, I can either click on there, and that's me, obviously, as it stands. But if I want to post as Marcus Optimist, I click on there, and I can post. I can select these are businesses that we work with. So if I select Marcus Optimist and click save, that is now going to post as the Marcus Optimist, not as me.
Okay. I think I do it similar. So I'd go onto the page and just post, and it'll say, you know, the Grammar School at Meads rather than Leanne Humphreys. But
yeah,
yeah, and it's all about the advertising and stuff. It's linking all that, and
okay.
There never seems to be somebody. It doesn't seem very what's the word, intuitive LinkedIn. You know, like again, like posting a job.
Okay. So again, to advertise, you've got the, if you can see this action up here is advertise here. So within there, this is the campaign manager, this is where advertising is run from, and you would need to set up an advertising account in there. It sounds like you've already got one, and I think it's just a case of going through and setting that up. So within advertising, you can do all the things that you mentioned. So you can do display ads, so graphics and videos, etc. And you can also do in-mail ads. So that's one that comes as a message internally. It can run data collection forms, etc. All those things. There's a lot to go in on that, but it's doable. It's in fact, if anything, I always find that LinkedIn ads, although more expensive than say Facebook or Instagram, are easier to manage than Facebook or Instagram ads. Facebook and Instagram ads, there's a heck of a lot going on. LinkedIn keeps it quite straightforward.
Okay, I'll have another look at the advertising ad manager, I think, isn't it, for LinkedIn? Yes.
So it's just on that, as you saw, it's just that little icon, just advertising at the side, and from there you'll be able to control it. You'll be able to add people to be able to administrate it. So you could add us, you could add people, other people within your business, whatever. If you would like a chat about that, just let me know. I'm happy to kind of jump on and do an hour one-to-one to talk you through that. That's not a problem at all.
Okay, thanks.
You're very welcome. Maria and Rizman, do you guys have any questions you would like to ask?
Yes, I am helping a small business owner. She has a kind of beauty salon on Instagram, Facebook, helping her with those social medias. And it is really all over the place, her account now. Yeah, it's something for herself. What would a priority be to have not control of? I'm trying in my best English here. Yeah, what would my priority be in this beginning of?
Are you trying to make things more consistent?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think one of the first things that I would do would be to look at both profiles, so Facebook and Instagram, and try to make sure that everything's working as it should. So your Facebook page effectively needs to be connected to your Instagram page so that they kind of work in tandem, because they're both connected. Once you've got that all sorted, so that you can so that when you go to, again, it's going back to Leanne's question, Facebook Business Manager, you can, from there, you'll be able to schedule posts to LinkedIn and to Instagram from the same place and be able to manage them in tandem. You will also be able to run advertising that connects the two as well. So it is one of the problems that we get that we face when we take on a new client. A client will say, we don't really know how it's all connected, and they've done it in a strange kind of way. So one of the first things we try to do is to unravel what may have happened before, because Facebook has developed, as I said earlier, quite a lot in the last year, and they are still developing it. So one of the first things we do is we try to get it into a good state, so it's unraveled, so it's connected, and that we all understand where it's connected as well. Because one of the things we all get is people don't know who the admins are, they don't know their passwords for Facebook, they don't know passwords for Instagram, they've got 20 accounts connected. It happens a lot. So one of the first things I would do would be to unravel everything and note everything down. So make sure you know who the administrators are, make sure you know all the passwords, make sure they're all connected properly and it's all being, oh, lovely. Hello, James. We've got a baby on the call. That's lovely. He's lovely. Do you have any questions, James?
And I think this is his first baby we've ever had on a Zoom call, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had dogs, but not babies.
Writing history.
Yeah. That's lovely.
Oh.
So yeah, that would be the first thing that I would do would be to go back and try and resolve as many issues as you can from the setup. Yeah. So Hannah and Courtney, any thoughts?
I think you've covered everything, but I'd agree with Richard and say that setting it up in Business Manager does make it a lot easier to work across both platforms at the same time, so you're not bouncing from one app to the other. As for the consistency, I think first you need to establish what it actually is that you want to achieve from both platforms as well, and then you can start working on a plan once obviously you've got everything under control, you've got everything set in the right place. I think the next step would be just working on a plan to work out what you want to achieve, and then once you've got that established, you can work from there.
Okay. So what's the main challenge for it, Maria? Where's the sticking point?
She really needs to get more customers in general.
Okay.
So we want to get her out there, and also so when people see on her website, for example, that they just don't go. I'm sorry, that's my dog barking.
Some babies.
I'll be over in a minute.
That's all right, don't worry.
Total chaos.
That's fine.
And when they go to her Instagram, that they don't just go away again and think that she's not professional enough, all of that.
Okay. So remind me again, what was it? What's the product?
It's the beauty salon, face mask and all of that.
Right. Okay. So is it a salon or products?
Yeah, not selling products, but selling services like facials and so on.
Right, I understand. Okay. So you need some sort of it's looking at lots of elements and working out, well, where are you sending? Are you sending if you're sending them to your customers, to your client's website, the website needs to be able to convert once they match all the way through. So again, it's looking at putting on clear calls to action about what they're going to need to do when they go, rather than, oh, that's a nice picture, we clicked on the picture. What do you want them to do? The picture represents something, the caption represents something, but what do you want them to do next? So it's looking at that and then ensuring that the website, not just the social media, but the website ties up with the promise from the social media. Otherwise, might get a click through, but you'll get that disconnect.
Richard.
Yes, Chris.
I have some thoughts as well.
Okay.
Depending on how the business owner wants to do the bookings, if she would like to take bookings via Instagram, things like utilizing the story aspect for like, these are the appointment slots available today or on Friday or whenever, and it's 5 slots or whatever, and during the day she shares a news story with one striked off, one's covered up because it's been taken, and you utilize, you know, the fact that you can send a message via Instagram and take one of those slots. And obviously then across your other social platforms, you can draw attention to the fact that this is happening over on Instagram or wherever the appointments are actually happening. So it is, you're still using all of your platforms, but you're really using them to draw people, like Richard said, towards one place. So it's either the website, or I would pick one platform where you really do a lot of your bookings. Because if it's, you know, we do some bookings on Twitter, some bookings on Facebook, it just becomes really complicated for you as well to try and market that. So I would pick one platform or the website where bookings are going to come from, and then use all your socials to then point towards that one place. As for like content that has been on like previous content and the stuff that you're going to make, if the old stuff isn't as good, build up the stuff that you're doing. So build up a nice amount of it. And there's no rules that say you can't lose the old stuff.
Yeah.
If you think people are coming onto the platform, seeing your content and going, but then 10 posts that way, it's not so good. Within a, you know, soon when you've built a bit more up, just lose the old stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, you want to make it try and look quite consistent as well, you know. So if your new stuff is really good and the other stuff is a bit poor, then you know you can eventually get rid of that stuff, and then it'll look really good and consistent and have a good branding as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You want a theme.
Exactly. Are you using on Instagram, are you using Reels at all?
We want to. The problem we have, or what I think is a problem, is that of course you can use original or audio, but you cannot use popular songs when you go into professional mode.
I think it's actually a new feature that they are allowing you to import songs now. It's on the recent update, so I think you should be able to import your own audio now.
Okay.
So you can use trending songs like what's on TikTok and things like that.
Yeah. Okay, that's nice. Because I thought that was kind of difficult then to make some real.
Yeah, it used to be a bit of a problem, to be honest, especially on business accounts, because the audios that you could use wasn't that good. But now you can import your own audio, so you can avoid that problem now.
Okay.
Instagram has the copyright to a select few songs, especially that are in the charts at the minute, because you can, you know, when you put a story on, if you go to click on music, you can add like a trending song, and I think you get a limit. I think you only get like 30 seconds or a minute of that song, but they do hold the copyright to certain songs that are quite popular at the minute.
Okay.
And Reels will obviously boost the reach dramatically.
Yeah, definitely.
On your story as well, you'd be surprised how much music is actually on there.
Yeah, you can search and that, can't you?
Yeah, if you're releasing music these days, it would be unusual not to tick the box that puts your music onto the Instagram thing. It sort of is put there now. When people are distributing music, it will automatically go there. You would have to untick that. So you'll find that there'll be, especially as time goes on, there'll be even more music to pick from on the Instagram, on stories, where you can apply different music.
Excellent. Cool. Does that help, Maria?
It really does. Yes.
Fantastic. Well, the same offer goes to you, Maria, as I gave to Leanne. If you want to have a one-to-one session where you want to talk through more things, just let me know, and we can arrange that. That's not a problem at all.
Thank you. That sounds
excellent. Nice. Okay, so Rizman, do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, I kind of do as well. So, as a photographer, I was told that I should be using Instagram more, but ever since I've started using it, I've not really found any kind of like traction. Like it's been very spammy, if more than anything, like people saying, "Oh, post on our page," or do this or do that. I haven't found any genuine connections, or it's not led to any further jobs in my field. So I'm not sure whether it's the algorithm or whether it's what I'm posting.
Okay, so can I ask what type of photography is it you do, Rizman?
I do events, I do portraiture, headshots, and yeah, that's pretty much, and I do a couple of weddings here and there, but I've not really established that one that much yet.
Okay, so all right. So so yeah, Instagram is definitely the right thing for you, I think, because you're a photographer. It's when I first started using Instagram, that's all you could post on it, to be honest. There was none of this selling or anything like that. I started, gosh, I opened an Instagram account 10 years ago when all it did was put nice funny filters on to make them look really old pictures, and you couldn't do anything other than post a picture, and that was it. So yeah, it's definitely a photographer's medium. You should definitely be using it. So what type of content are you gonna have to describe it, I guess? What was your last post?
I think the last one I did, it was a couple of portrait shots from a groom that I'd done.
Okay. And what kind of caption was it? Was it quite a lengthy description? Did it contain hashtags?
I think I had about 10 hashtags in it, and I think it was just the name of the groom and the fact that it was his wedding, and I put the location as well where the portrait took place.
And in your Instagram bio, is there a link to your website where people can get hold of you, or some contact details?
I've got a link tree link added.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I, from like a creative end, like I release music, it's what I used to do for a job, and unfortunately the second you put in photographer or musician or something like that, you're immediately going to get bots doing the spam thing. I've never found a way around it. It's just an annoying part of using Instagram. I have a ton of friends who use Instagram as professional photographers, and what it really is, rather than a lead driver for them, is a community. It's really building you get, in the end, the people liking your photographs are highly likely to be photographers, and that's not a dreadful thing, because eventually there's no reason why people in Bradford, fellow photographers in Bradford, don't find your work, and if you're hashtagging correctly, and eventually when they can't make a wedding, maybe you'll make that wedding or whatever. The point is, I think you have to think about it differently. It's a digital portfolio, and one that enables you to connect with photographers all over the world and discuss why you shot it in that particular way, and on what film and what camera, and I think that's what photographers are really using Instagram for, and eventually to build a profile. But I think that stuff happens once you've already established a breadth of work and this kind of community of photographers. Then I think the profile happens on the back of that.
I also think, Rizman, that you said you were using about 10 hashtags, and you said maybe using like the groom's name, whereas you could maybe change your hashtags to be like photography Yorkshire, so they're not, they're a bit more niche, so people can find you easier, because photography is very broad, and people, it might be someone in like Austria or Denmark or somewhere like that. But if you're looking for more leads, then I would make them a little bit more specific, and you can have up to 30 hashtags on Instagram. So I would maybe, put them in a separate comment below the post, and then you can use as many hashtags up to 30 as you want.
What happens if you edit a post? Like, does it affect anything that way?
No, it's fine. You can just edit away, unless you like removing hashtags or something like that, but you'll just be found less, but it won't change anything that's already happened.
Right, okay.
What you could do as well, you mentioned that you named the groom in that shot. Was it taken at a particular venue?
Yeah. I've tagged the venue in,
Okay,
where it says the location. I've already put that in.
Okay.
I could add it in the post as well, actually.
Yeah, it's probably good to mention the venue in the post, and if the venue run their own Instagram account, tag that Instagram account in your post that you took it at whatever venue it was.
The venue might
that-
have a
that can help a
hashtag.
lot.
The venue might have a hashtag as well.
Then you might have a hashtag as well. Absolutely, yeah. It might also be a good idea to almost do so when you're taking the photographs of, say, a wedding and the groom and the wedding party, whatever. In between times, could you take using your phone, take a little bit of kind of video of you like at the wedding and kind of to show a little bit behind the scenes, or if somebody's there with you. Maybe you've got somebody, I don't know, a partner or whatever, who could go along with you, who could take photographs of you photographing the people, because that then gives it a bit more interest and a bit more kind of behind the scenes. And maybe you also, in your Instagram posts, I mean, I'm going to stick to a wedding. So let's say that the typical wedding, you will go and meet the bride and groom beforehand because you want to know what kind of photographs they want to take, etc. So why not take a little bit of footage while you're there, doing that bit with their permission, obviously, and maybe share that a little bit more and go, oh, I met these two people who are going to get married, discussed what we were going to do with them, how they wanted to be shot, etc. Here's a little story about just us meeting, and then maybe that behind the scenes that you at the wedding venue, etc. And what it starts to do, and all this stuff can apply to whoever's employing you to take the photographs, whether it's business or weddings or whatever it happens to be. It then starts to go, all right, so this guy's not just taking beautiful photographs, he's showing us how he does business, he's showing us how he works, and that can build it out. That's a kind of a general social media thing for any kind of business. So we can talk about kind of what we're doing, etc., but doing things like we're doing now shows our expertise and shows a bit behind. You guys are getting to see a bit behind the scenes now. Which builds us up as kind of experts from that point of view. So that might be something you think about with your Instagram, and your whole marketing thoughts behind that is do a little bit more than just showing the final product. The final product's really important.
You want a face behind your brand because it makes you look more authentic as well, instead of just someone that turns up and takes pictures, because no one knows what to expect. Like, they might not even recognize you when you first meet if you don't have anything on your profile that shows who you are. And that's it. What I assume you're self-employed. Yeah. Well, there you go. Being self-employed, you are you're your own brand. So you've got the world of opportunity in that to showcase yourself in whatever light you want. So it's all how you come across. Whereas it's like, you're not under a company who says you've got to do this and stick to this. You can be as creative as you want. So it's really about just sort of putting a face to your brand and being more authentic, so people will see you and not just your pictures. And that could generate them to, say, well, he looks like a really cool bloke. Let's employ him to do photography.
Blogging after you shoot, so you do a shoot, you go home, and as you're editing the pictures, blog about the experience. I've sent you someone to look up, and he's basically running the photography game, including weddings and corporate stuff, like a rock star at the moment. He kind of does the shoot, edits them, sends them off to loads of bridal blogs, and they all come back, and obviously then all his clients are then in bridal magazines thanks to this guy. So that's a bonus. He then blogs about how he felt it went and what he thought, they were, how his thoughts on the wedding and the couple and their, style and how it felt to shoot them. And, he thought the wife made a beautiful portrait because of the stuff I don't understand about photography, because of how beautifully symmetrical her face was or something. So you're getting people who are into brides and stuff. You're also getting photographers who are interested in the process, and you're coming through as like a human being behind the camera. And people have probably mentioned it, but in terms of trying to get a bit more lead generation out of Instagram, because I'm sure brides are using this kind of hashtagging the kind of wedding photographer or corporate photographer or wherever it is you're going for, and no doubt there's some stuff there too.
I think it comes down to more than just your Instagram account. I think you need to be looking at a little bit broader and going, okay, so if the specialism, again, Rizman, what specialism you'd like to work in? I know we've stuck to wedding photography, but what's the specialism that you'd really love to work in?
Event photography.
Right. Okay. So you need to be kind of going to events and contacting people who are event managers, etc., and even doing things because. Okay, so when I've run events, sometimes I quite like a photographer there, but maybe I've not thought about it, or maybe I've not got the budget, etc. So what you could do is say, well, actually, I'm happy to come across to your event, and if you'll let me, I'll photograph it for free. You can have a pick of the photographs just to get you experience and get you in front of event managers. So again, like finding, I know a lady who organises events. They're always looking for new suppliers in and around different places. So it's kind of picking up that portfolio and getting that niche and specializing in it as well. Because as we said, photographers, there are all kinds of photographers. As Chris said, Chris used to be a musician. He knows music photographers, and there are wedding photographers and corporate photographers and event photographers, sports, etc. All these things, they're all specialists. And that's what you need to do because people want a specialist, want an expert for whatever it is that they're doing.
My experience, photographers do all have one thing in common, and they're a bit like journalists in this. They're always there around the thing that they photograph. So in music, there were always people stood on the sidelines with their SLRs, and you knew they were the photographers, and they were gonna at one point run out because they saw something that was interesting and click it, and that was the reason they went out that evening. There are people when you go to corporate events there's tons of them who aren't official photographers, but they've got their cameras because this is the kind of thing they like shooting. I mean, I think that's how you build up the amount of work to then get further work, probably. And also then your name, your face even, a name becomes synonymous with a certain thing. Because you're there. Yeah, one reason why I'm a copywriter and not a journalist. I don't really fancy being there. But it's kind of important, I think.
Okay. So again, same offer to you, Rizman. If you would like to go through something and like to go through what it is that you're doing, just let me know, just get in touch and let me know. I'm happy to give you an hour of my time to talk through options and ideas with you. That's absolutely not a problem.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that.
You're welcome. So guys, does anybody, Leanne, Maria and Rizman, do you have any further questions from other people's questions? Has anything new come up for you guys?
Can I just ask why some people post like on Instagram and they put like a short kind of sentence and then they do lots of returns, and then you have to click on the post if you're interested. Is that just I don't know? Yeah,
so I think there was a thing, and it's got a lot better at it now. So initially, Instagram was really bad at formatting your caption. So if you wanted to put a line and then put a paragraph break, so it looked like you got paragraphs, you used to have to put a return, then a full stop, return and a full stop, and a return and a full stop, and to move it down to make it look prettier. You no longer have to do that anymore. You just put a return in, and it keeps the returns in.
Right. So it doesn't like, for instance, what I was thinking, it doesn't, because people sometimes, nosy people like myself, sometimes click on it and then say, oh, that was pointless. I didn't know whether it meant that because your post got clicked on, it came higher up in the algorithm, or
it will do, yes. So if your post is clicked on, so if somebody clicks to open up the caption, that's an interaction. So an interaction will actually help your post. So actually that's a really good point that we've kind of glossed over a little bit. If you're when you look at your Instagram post, if you've got a caption underneath, if your first line or your first couple of lines are intriguing enough that people go, actually, I really need to read that caption, and so they click to open the caption more to read it. Sorry, Amazon delivery. Then that'll count as an interaction, and the more interaction you can get on your post, the better. It's also, so yeah, if your first couple of lines not force people, but get people to go, I'm interested, I'll click to read more, that's really good. again, another reason and another way to get on all social media to improve coverage is engagement as well. So if you're, so this probably applies really well to you, Rizman. If you're looking through people who are running events and you want to like work with them, and they're posting like images of their event, maybe you can post that looks like a really good event. Shame I missed this. Again, you can interact with them on Instagram and say, I'm happy to come and if you're looking for a photographer in Bradford to shoot your next event, please let me know. That interaction, which is the bit that a lot of people miss out on, can make a huge difference. So looking for your prospects, your clients, and interacting with them, just talking to them via Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, wherever, those comments, although taking time, make a huge difference. If you can, if I left you with one tip, the one tip would be spend 10 minutes every day interacting. So if you interact with one person every day, every for 365 days a year, you probably won't do it all that time. But if you did, that's 365 interactions with new people that you've probably never done. Liking and clicking is all very well, but that little bit of time to kind of put a little comment, that's what starts to elevate you up. That's what will get you more and more coverage.
In terms of interaction, I think just on social generally, I think, and this is more apparent now today, these days, than I think it ever has been before. Content isn't just content anymore. So what I mean is, you can't, I remember when you could put something on I know I'm officially my dad, but when you could put something in 4 different places, the same thing, and the same, people in 4 different places, in 4 different platforms, pretty much responded in the same way to that piece of content. That used to happen. It was a thing. For example, let's use Rizman, just because for me it's more of an obvious link to something I understand. You wouldn't necessarily put your photographs on TikTok, for example. That would be the wrong format. You would put on, hey, I'm at this wedding, look how amazing this wedding is, this is the bride and groom, this is me taking a photograph of the bride and groom. That is the right thing for TikTok. It may not be for LinkedIn, where you want your real corporate people. You would have your really slick looking, filmed on a tripod so you can get the perfect curve, and that's the stuff you'd put on LinkedIn. So by that I mean, if you're posting today, you might actually not need 1 piece of content. You might need 4 pieces of content. They might all be about the same thing. It might be 4 different angles, 4 different ways of looking at one message, because of people expect different things from their different platforms. And I'm still making that error privately, because I don't do social for the business. Should add that. But I think it's really important these days, and I think it hasn't been more important before.
Yeah, completely. That's a very good point, Chris. Excellent. Cool. So Maria and Rizman, any more questions for you guys?
Yeah, I have seen that on Instagram, businesses don't get as many likes and comments as they do on Facebook. At least they don't do in Denmark. They can have 3,000 followers on Instagram, but only 30 likes. What can I do? Well, what can someone do to have more engagement on Instagram?
Okay, so there's a few things. First of all, that's really interesting, because in the UK that seems to be the other way around. So we would expect more interaction on Instagram than Facebook in the UK. So that's interesting that over in Denmark it appears, from your experience, it's different.
People are more polite there, Rich.
Maybe they are, yeah, maybe. So that's interesting. I think there is a thing with the algorithms where if you're not paying to post, so you're not sponsoring or you're not running a kind of a proper ad, you're only ever going to reach a small percentage of your followers anyway. That's just how things are. So one of the first things you can do is change the format. So on Instagram, Reels will boost your engagement massively. You can be seeing 5,000 to 6,000 people, with a reel, depending on the hashtags, etc. But a lot of this all comes down to the content. So if your post isn't engaging, you won't get the engagement. So it does come down to the creativity of the content, and that's the image stroke video and the caption and the hashtag, all these other things. It's looking at the creativity on your content. Is it asking a question? Is it answering a question? Is it something that people need to comment on or not comment on? If it's just, oh, we've just bought a new pen, no, you're not going to get interaction on a post like that. I know that's a terrible example, but that kind of base thing, it's creating content that people will want to interact with is the key. And that can be difficult, and that may come down to you maybe not posting as often, if coming up with content that's interactable is tricky, because you can't come up with it constantly. But it does come down to what the post is. If the post is interesting and the post has things that people want to comment on or need to comment on, need to interact with, then they will. If it's not, if it's a dull kind of, we bought a new pen, well, I don't care whether you bought a new pen, so why would I bother interacting?
Try some content with like some direct speaking in it as well. So by that I mean, I think this is another change that I'm seeing. Whereas it used to be the flashier the content, the bigger the likes and the more the engagement, because it looks really swanky. And while I still think quality is essential, people can still sniff out poor quality as opposed to less finessed. I think there's a difference. Oh no, I've lost my thought. Oh no, that's embarrassing. I've lost my thought. Oh no.
That's okay. I think I'm not going to try and read Chris's mind, but I think what he's trying to get to is that authenticity is probably more important these days.
That's it. Sorry.
There you go. I did read your mind.
I think people these days like people in the content. Look at TikTok. If it hasn't got a person in it, it fails completely. And if it's too edited, people don't like it. They want this very real thing. So on Instagram, from a business perspective, I'm seeing it more here, but obviously I don't know about where you are. I'm sure the same is, these patterns tend to be kind of global patterns. So I'm assuming it happens everywhere. But this thing of having people in your content communicating with the audience, meaning people flicking through, asking kind of direct questions, relaying an experience they've had in the salon or something, but that kind of direct communication, I think that's what people want these days. From their content, I think.
Yeah, I mean, with the salon, perhaps if we could take some videos of people in the salon as it kind of swoops around with people having whatever treatments they're having, that kind of thing can pick up that interaction. People are always the key. This is marketing psychology. Pictures, image, marketing that's got people in it tends to react better, because people like to react to faces because they can see themselves. So that's why we're all loving. That's why we're all loving seeing your baby, because we're interacting with him. So anything, if you can get people in it, and I guess with it being a beauty salon, that's really easy to do, or should be. That kind of more real. It's people do get really het up with this polished look. Chris is very right on things like TikTok. It's very unpolished, and people like the unpolished thought of it. But it is kind of where you are, because as Chris rightly said, for a Rizman who wants to do commercial photography, that needs to be really polished, because who wants a half-cut picture? They want it in focus and lit properly, everything else. However, for Rizman's kind of behind the scenes stuff, where he's going, this is me shooting this event, that can be a little bit shaky, because that makes it more real. So it's get the right content in the right place for the right use. Okay, so we've got a couple of minutes left. Has anyone got any more questions?
I've got one regarding Instagram. You know, like the certain people that follow you, but then they end up unfollowing you. How do you how can you locate which person it is? Because it's not that clear on Instagram, whereas Twitter, it's a lot more clear, like who's following you back.
Okay, so I'm just going to get my phone so I'm giving you the right information. So on Instagram, if you click on the people who are following you, so if you go to your own profile and click on following, you will get a thing at the top. I'm going to show it to the screen, but it's probably not very clear at all. I don't think that's clear whatsoever. You can get people who are interacting with you or least interacting with you. If you click on the people who are least interacting, again, I'm not sure how clear this will be. So those are the people who are least interacting with this account, which is my personal account. You can click to unfollow those people. Okay.
But what about the people that you're following, but they're not following you back? How can you tell about them?
I won't worry too much about it, to be honest. I think one of the things can be is balancing out the kind of percentage of your followers versus following. If somebody comes to your site and you're following 6 million people and you've got 2 followers, that doesn't look good.
I know, exactly. Yeah.
So I would look at that, and I would maybe look at your people you're following periodically. Use that thing to look at the least interacted with, and maybe get rid of those, and just kind of keep culling back, because you say you actually want from a psychology point of view. I don't know if that makes any difference to the algorithm whatsoever. But from a psychology point of view, somebody comes to your profile and sees that you're following 10 million people and you've got 2 followers. That's not a good trust signal.
Remember though, horses for courses on the platform. So this is Instagram, which is more likely this community building thing, in which case it's less of an issue. So I think it's how you're looking at Instagram. I think look at it less as a lead generator, because I don't think it is a main lead generator for that many photographers. I think it's, at least yet, I think in the early stages it isn't going to be. I think you need to build something up on it first, and I think that's community building, in which case that's all part and parcel of adding. And so I think it's what approach do you want to take, and obviously there's 2 ways of going down that road, I guess.
I think for everybody, I would concentrate more on the quality of your content that you're posting and the interaction, rather than technical things around following and not following, etc. Because that way, those are important, but more peripheral to what you're posting, and the interaction will help what you're posting as well. Because if you comment on somebody else's, on an event manager's post about, I don't know, data races or whatever they did, there's a good chance that they will look at your profile, and also other people who were maybe at that event, other event managers also watching their events, may look at your stuff too. So that interaction with event managers is key. And then when they do come to look at your content needs to reflect that you photograph events, if that's the niche you want to go into. So when they come, they go, oh wow, these are amazing photographs of a data races or a corporate event or whatever it was. That becomes the interest in the conversion part, where they go, that's interesting. I might not convert today, but I remember seeing this amazing photograph of a data races. I do days at races. When I need a photographer again, I know where I'm going to come to.
The thing is, if you have and I know photography probably was that thing that then became something bigger, but what I mean is, if you have another hobby, something else you're interested in, so I don't know, I'm sure you're far more interested than this, but let's say you were into birds, right? You could, you start photographing that, and you start bringing people in from that interest group into the photography pot, and actually then your Instagram becomes a lot more exciting, because there's 2 sort of different worlds converging on photography. So it's interesting. And I've got friends that do that with photography as well. They'll bring in the fact that, so people who are corporate food photographers, but they're actually really into rock and roll. So at weekends they go and photograph bands, but it's all part of the same thing, because that's again, people buy from people. It's your profile. People are really buying you and your skill rather than the specific work you're showing. So that's another way to kind of bump up engagement, bump up interest, and also a breadth of stuff on a profile.
Absolutely. Cool, lovely. Well, does anyone have any more questions? Excellent. Okay. Well, we've managed to do an hour, so that's great. Thank you for all your questions. Thank you for all your interaction. That's been really good, and I hope you've all got something out of this. As I said, feel free to get in touch, and I'm more than happy to have an hour with each of you individually to try and see if we can help whatever problems you might have. And that's free. There's no charge for that. Just let me know, and we can arrange a Zoom call. That's absolutely fine.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. Thanks a lot. Have a great day and enjoy the rest of social media day. I don't know what you're going to do with it.
Thanks.
Bye, folks.
Thanks a lot, guys. Bye bye.
Okay, then.
Thank you.
Bye bye.